Inshallah, let's all continue now ibadah for tonight by having a little ta'aleem, inshallah, learning what we've been standing for the last hour and a half, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tonight we began and completed Surah Ahqaf, began and completed Surah Jinn, began and completed Surah Ahqaf, began and completed Surah Muhammad, began and completed Surah Fath, began and completed Surah Al-Hujurat, began and completed Surah Qaf. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We began with Surah Ahqaf. Surah Ahqaf was revealed in Makkah during the time of the boycott, when the Prophet and his wife and his uncle had passed away. And the Prophet ﷺ went on his famous mission to Ta'if and the outcome. So this surah deals with the Prophet ﷺ when he was going through a difficult time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the surah by saying that this book is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the heavens and the earth have been that the heavens and the earth has an appointed time, that everything will come to end. But the disbelievers, they refuse to believe in it and they turn away. And they disbelieve in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they call to others than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they begin to challenge the prophets by demanding that they challenge the prophet that he brings signs. The Prophet ﷺ then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges them to bring proof of their gods. And the disbelievers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by saying that they say the Quran is magic. The Quran, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is magic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refutes them by saying that the Quran is not forged, the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by saying that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is only a messenger and only knows what has been revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He do not know anything beyond that. The disbelievers say that if this Prophet is good, if this Quran or the message of the prophets, the message that were given to the prophets from before were good, it surely would have went to them, to the Bani Israel, should have went to the Quraysh instead of the Bani Israel. So they're saying if whatever the Prophet is saying about the previous nations is true, it should have went to the Arabs, not to the Israelites. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that those who believe will not fear nor grieve, and whatever these people say will not cause them any harm, because they are the people of Jannah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns the subject in verse 15 to speaking about parents and being good to their parents, and that we must make dua for the parents, and that we must make dua, whilst we're making dua for the parents, we make dua for our offspring. So the concept is that we do good for our parents, that our children will do good to us. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by warning those who are rude to the parents. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the topic in the surah, speaking about many nations who have passed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by talking about Ad, the Qawm of Ad, how they mocked the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it came. And when the punishment came, they had nothing left but their dwellings. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about people with ears, eyes and hearts. But this form of communication does not benefit them because they have cut communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by speaking about, in this surah, about the jinns who listened to the recitation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, became Muslim and warned their people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes in detail, completing the surah with speaking about the da'wah of the jinns to other jinns. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we begin with Surah Muhammad, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the first time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives permission for fighting. So this surah was revealed in Medina, and it deals with the hypocrites and how they made excuses not to fight in the path of not to join in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the surah by speaking to those who disbelieve, that their work, whatever effort they are doing, will go to waste. And for the believers, whatever has been revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be atoned. So whoever believes in the Prophet will be atoned. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you meet the enemy, to be brave, and whatever prisoners you have, to either ransom them or kill them. And the martyrs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the martyrs, those who've passed away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that their good deeds will not go to waste, will not perish. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this surah continues speaking to the Sahaba that, and the Prophet ﷺ, that he will help the believers, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy the disbelievers. And just like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had destroyed many previous nations. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the focus, speaking about Jannah and Jahannam, the rivers in Jannah of milk and honey, and that's what the people of Jannah will be enjoying, whilst in Jahannam it will be boiling water that would destroy the bowels. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by speaking about the hour, that the hour is coming, and the signs of the hour, are obvious for us to see. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes back to the topic of fighting the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and says that those who have a sick heart, when they hear these verses pertaining to fighting the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll be so scared, white in the face, that they'll almost faint. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then continues to speak about the qualities of a munafiq, hypocrite, in detail. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He will test the Muslims until those with a sound heart will become apparent. So the test and tribulations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places upon our heart is purely so that we can come out of all these tribulations with a sound heart, only if we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends the surah by saying that this world is a play, but if you believe, you will be rewarded. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the final ayah says, it commands mankind to spend. And whoever is stingy and does not want to spend, he's only being stingy to himself. Whoever doesn't want to spend, then it's his loss. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by, we continue the surah, Surah Al-Fath. Surah Al-Fath is an amazing surah because it deals with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And just a background of this surah, it's a Medina surah. So in the year 5th of Hijrah, the Muslims defeated the Quraysh in the final battle, the battle of the ditch, where they tried to invade Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ had a dream that he would be, that he was making Umrah in Mecca. So the Sahaba, and the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba that now we're going to do Umrah. And this is something that's actually really absurd to think about. Why? Because to go for Umrah, the Muslims cannot bring any weapons. They can only bring a sword, a small sword that's sheathed, instead of all their military gear. So now, and they're entering into the heartland of the enemy, the Quraysh, who've tried to destroy the Muslims for almost 20 years. They're entering into that. So this is a separation between the Muslims and the Munafiq of Medina. So the Munafiqs made up a lot of excuses why they shouldn't go. And 1,400 Sahaba went for this Umrah, again with no weapons, into the heart of the enemy. And on the other side of the Quraysh, the other side in Mecca, they were now put into an extreme situation where they had to choose whether to allow the Muslims in or to deny them entrance. Because if they were to deny the Muslims to enter into Medina, then it would be against the customs of the Arabs. Because the Kaaba is not the property of the Quraysh. They are only the guardian of the Kaaba. They're only the ones that look after it and service the Hujjaj. So to do that to not allow the Muslims to enter would cause a lot of problem for the Quraysh and the remaining Arab tribes, all of the Arab tribes. and to allow the Muslims. So, but what if they allowed the Muslims in? If they allowed the Muslims in, then it would show a sign of weakness that the Quraysh have now surrendered to the Muslims. So the Quraysh were put into a situation. They sent and the Prophet and the Quraysh actually tried a couple of times to actually instigate war by doing small skirmishes, that the Muslims would now appear that they are coming to Makkah for battle, and now the Quraysh can come out and battle them. But these instigations did not have any fruit. And then the Prophet ﷺ sent Uthman ibn Affan to negotiate deals with the Quraysh. So then they captured Uthman, or withheld Uthman longer than the time frame that he was supposed to be in Makkah. So and rumors spread back to the Muslims that Uthman has been killed. Uthman has been killed. So then the Prophet ﷺ made all the Sahaba, the 1400 Sahaba, to make a bay'ah, to make a pledge that we will avenge Uthman because you never killed the messenger. Yeah? The saying is, you don't shoot the messenger, you never kill an emissary. That's a declaration of war. So they said, they made a pledge that they will fight to the death for Uthman radiallahu anhu. And after they made this pledge, the Quraysh found out that the Muslims were now ready for war, and they immediately sent whatever they wanted, they were about to get. But now they sent Uthman ibn Affan back to the Muslims to calm the matter down, and they met up and made a peace treaty. It's called, this peace treaty, there's many components to it, but a couple things I just want to point out. The biggest one of it was that the Sahaba could not enter into Makkah. They'd have to return the next year with conditions that the Quraysh would leave Makkah. So it was a big throwback to the Sahaba because they missed their hometown and they made a lot of effort there to get there. And the second one, which seems on the naked eye obviously against the Muslim, was that if a Muslim went to Medina, he's commanded to return back. To a Muslim from Makkah went to Medina, commanded back to go to Makkah. But if a Muslim from Medina goes to Makkah, that he can remain there. And this negotiation made a lot of the Sahaba very upset, including Umar radiallahu anhu. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah. And we'll begin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, before I get to that ayah, the outcome of this surah was it's a peace treaty for 10 years. What this peace treaty did, that there's no war between the Quraysh and the Muslims. It recognized that the Muslims were now not just a group of rebels against a small sect against the government. They actually a recognized institution, recognized government. So it put Muslims on a status of governmentship amongst all of the Arabs, and the Quraysh had to admit it. And secondly, because they were allowed to spread, because they weren't under threat, they were allowed to spread across the Arabian Peninsula, and within 2 years, almost every single tribe in Arabia became Muslim. So that's the background of the story, and I just want to read the first ayah. Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina. There's 3 different types of emphasis there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we are successful. There's 3 different types of emphasis in Arabic, just to emphasize that this treaty has made the Muslims successful. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in the surah by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given clear victory to the Muslim, and sakina will arise in the hearts of the believer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish the munafiqs and punish the disbelievers and the hypocrites, and those who give allegiance to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given allegiance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with those who have made the pledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them that they have had victories over the Makkans, even though at this time the Muslims cannot see it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises that they will enter Makkah shortly with a victory. Not only that for Umrah, but there's a few years after that, the conquest of Makkah occurred. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Prophet Muhammad is an apostle of Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends off the surah by speaking about the signs of the believer in detail. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then we did, that's the conclusion of that surah. Then we did Surah Al-Hujurat. It's a surah that was revealed in Medina. The theme of this surah is the adab of a Muslim. It begins with the adab of a Muslim towards the Prophet ﷺ, adab of a Muslim with another Muslim, and that we must check the information that we receive in detail. But we don't just take whatever information we get, because it might just be rumors. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins by saying, be careful that when you are in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, that you don't speak above or louder than the voice of the Prophet. And whatever news arrives, that you must check it in details. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by saying, if there's two groups of believers who argue, you must make sulh, make reconciliation. And that Muslims are brothers. And that we do not laugh at each other or call each other bad nicknames. Don't have bad thoughts of one another. Don't have bad thoughts of one another, because it is a sin. It is, and to take bad, evil stories about a Muslim brother is like eating the flesh of a Muslim. So that's the conclusion of that surah. Then we moved. The next surah that we did tonight was Surah Hujurat. No, Surah Qaf. Surah Al-Qaf is revealed in Mecca, and but this surah was recited a lot in the Prophet ﷺ's Friday prayer, and it deals with resurrection. So this was a surah that was read a lot for the Muslims to contemplate upon resurrection and hereafter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins by speaking that mankind will be made into dust. When they die, they'll be made into dust, and then they'll be raised again. And those who deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all of His signs are those who are confused. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by speaking about His creations. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then speaks about previous nations who have denied the Prophets, their prophets, and the outcome of them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in verse 16 to speak about the deeds being written on our left and right, and continues speaking about Qiyamah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then in verse 30 continues to talk about the pleasures of Jannah, all the rewards that a Muslim will have in Jannah. Verse 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues speaking about the destroyed nations of the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then speaks about the creation of heaven and earth in 6 days, that with no fatigue. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends off the surah by speaking about the horror of Qiyamah. And finally we concluded the night with Surah Al-Dhariyat. This is a surah that was revealed in Makkah. It deals with Tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the surah by making an oath, and an oath that the rewards and punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues by saying that the evildoers mock this day, the day of Qiyamah, and the good doers are constantly in ibadah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah speaks about the story of Ibrahim and his two guests that he had, who refused to eat, but who ended up being angels who would go and destroy the people of Lut. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the story of Musa, the story of Ad, the people of Noah, and that finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concludes the surah that jinn and man were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan.